Thursday, November 1st, and the new version of JS8CALL is out. It's now version 8.1. This video is an update to what I covered in version 7.5, actually 0.7.5, and 0.8.1 is the correct version now. First of all, if you missed the other video, I'll go over this really quickly. Let me move this down. If you want to, when you first get the program, you need to configure it. You do that by clicking on Configuration, and here are Settings. Most of these are self-evident. Under General, Station, you enter your call sign, your grid square, and you need to make sure you do this because if you don't, nobody will know your location and they won't know how far away you are from them. Program uses your grid, and anything it hears from you to any beacon it hears from you, or now as they're called heartbeat, it hears from you to show the distance in miles or kilometers. You can enter an IARU region if you like. I never did. There is now a new feature in 8.1 called Group Call. It's been changed from the way it was handled before, and you do this if you want to create a group that other stations can participate in. You put an @ sign and then without a space the name of the group. The default is right here, @ all call. The way this works is if you send a directed message to all call, anybody that is in that group, which by default is anybody using the program, will see your station on the right hand side and the text on the left in the channel activity over here. And if you wanted to create a group called Ragju, which is something I've thought about doing, I would put @ and then Ragju and then comma, and then anything I sent to Ragju by clicking on it over here in the right window and selecting it would go out under that group name, and stations that were also monitoring that would see anything from me over here. It's pretty slick. CQ message is here. I changed mine from the default, which was just CQ, CQ, CQ. I think in the new release, it has your grid appended to it, but I made mine, as you can see, CQ, FM, CN87, and in WA. The reply message, I think the default is a little too cryptic. I just put the word hello before mine. You can basically put anything you want to there. Then your QTH, and then your station info text. This is also viewable on PSK Reporter. If somebody selects your station, they'll see it at the bottom of that box that pops up, which is neat. Next is radio. Select your radio up here. I've got a TS590. The serial port, I believe, auto-populates. I don't really remember. Let's see here. Yeah, it should auto-populate for your rig. And you need to make sure your baud rate is set for the baud rate that you're communicating with the radio at. You can find that in WSJTX, or if you've got a rig control program, you can look at it there. I use, on the 590S, I use cat control and leave all these others unchecked because I'm using a single USB cable. The transmit audio source is rear data. I think it defaults to front mic, and the mode you want USB. You don't want to use data in JS8CALL, which I was doing. You need the bandwidth in the USB setting. And let's see what else. I didn't bother with split. TX delay I left alone. I'm not sure what that does. I've got to go do some more looking. These are all, I believe, the default settings. On audio, make sure you use the appropriate audio settings. If you've got a signal link or a rig with a USB audio built in, you would select USB audio codec for both. And I leave the save directory and add directory alone. Reporting, leave it as it is. Frequencies you can leave alone. Saved messages. These are also selectable by a button in the main user interface. You'll see that when I close this. But here's where you enter them. Type them in and click Add. And this brings up another thing. The author has added some macro-like commands, and they only work in canned messages. You can't use them as you're typing along live to a station. One of those is left bracket, SNR, right bracket. These are, by the way, he lists in his documentation for the new version. So when this is sent, this is what it'll print out. And since obviously I've heard the station I'm connected to, it already knows what its last signal strength was. That's dB above or below the noise, and it inserts that right here. Let's see what else here. Notifications. I've yet to get this to work. You're supposed to be, and this is on an iMac, you're supposed to be able to put a WAV file up here and have it announce when somebody sends you a message. It doesn't work for me. It's no big deal. Here's where you enter your fonts. The band and call activity settings are here. These are background colors. These are the background colors for the various rows. If you select the station to do a directed contact with, it'll be blue. If somebody answers you, it will be red. Green is what's in the CQ text. These all show up over here on the left in the activity window. And here are the directed messages, background colors, etc. Anyway, these relate to these. It's not too evident right at the beginning. Message fonts are set here. Here again, background color, foreground color, and fonts. You can increase or decrease as you see fit. The font that's used by the application itself, I assume that's the buttons, etc., in the boxes, is set here. And that's the way that works. Now, as far as actual operation, by the way, here are your saved messages right here. If you click here, that's where they are. And if I clicked on one of those, it would go out to the station I was directed in a directed contact with. By the way, this whole thing about directed and undirected, you could sit and just type text and hit transmit, or hit enter rather, to transmit. But if you do that, nobody's going to know what your call sign is, as I understand it, from what I've seen. If you do a directed message, which you do by clicking here, there's the blue line I mentioned, showing that I'm now going to send a directed message to him. I can do that, by the way, by right-clicking, go to send directed to directed to K1 DOW. Here's all the options. So if I wanted to start talking to him after doing that, I could just type right here by clicking here and then entering my text and hitting enter. And you'll notice it also tells you type your outgoing directed message to K1 DOW. The other options are multitudinous, to use a word I don't use that often. Some of these are automated. If I sent this right now, in fact, let's try it. I don't even know if he's going to hear me. I clicked there, my rig went into transmit. Here's what it's sending in directed form. My call, his call, space, SNR, question mark. If he's hearing me, his side will respond with a line of text that will be his call, my call, and then the information. Now, I'm not seeing him come back in the waterfall, which, by the way, is down here. And here's the part of the band that I'm on with my audio tones right now. So anyway, that's the way that works. If you decide you don't want to talk to that person anymore or you want to move on, you can either deselect or just click on another station. So I'll deselect. You didn't hear me. Another new feature added in this version is the column right here, and if it's got a little tick mark, it means that you've worked that station before, which is really cool. Another option, by the way, here's signal report. Age is the length of time since you heard the station. I've got mine sorted by most current to oldest. And let's see. Okay, he did answer me. That's amazing. And since I wasn't connected, I didn't see it. I'll just click over here. And he relayed, I believe, from this station, I think, ZF1EJ. He either relayed or that's a garbage signal. Anyway, that's the way that works. And see, his side responded SNR -17. Let's try something else here. By the way, to select him, all I did was click over here again. You'll notice blue over here, blue over here. So let me right click, go to directed, and I'll click status, which means is he active or idle? Is he sitting there in the shack or has he not been near his computer for more than an hour? Now my rig is sending that. By the way, JS8 breaks everything up into 15-second blocks of data. Here's the information here of what it's sending. One data block. The actual, I've got this set up so you can't see it, but the actual data blocks that are sent. You can see them as they go out. Let me move this up some more. By looking over here, here's the last block that was sent. So, by the way, this is running on an iMac, but the program works identically no matter what system you're running. What else do I want to mention here? Oh, TX and RX levels. This is really important. You want your transmit level, which you do by adjusting this slider, to be high enough so that you're achieving the output you have your rig set for, but low enough so your ALC isn't deflecting. This program is really sensitive. If you are overdriving your rig, you're going to have clipped audio and it won't decode. If you have your receive level set too high, and the author, Jordan, recommends that it be 40 on a quiet frequency. If you have it set too high, I think the default is 60, then it's quite likely that on signals that are strong, or sometimes even not so strong, will not decode because you're overdriving your audio input to the computer and they're clipped. Another thing that I do is when I want to work a station, I'll come up here to the frequency that they were last heard on, right click and do a jump to that frequency. What this does is, number one, obviously, it puts you right where they are, so the program is even having an even easier time of decoding what they send, although it does work really well across the whole spectrum. And also, sometimes if you don't decode the beginning of, well, actually all the time, if you don't decode the beginning of the line of text, which is your call and their call, your call, colon, their call, and you're in directed mode, you will not see anything. Well, if you're right on their frequency, if you either disconnect or go to cell call and disconnect, then you will see what they sent, or at least what you copied. So that I do that sometimes if I'm having a hard time decoding a station. I realize that's kind of confusing. I probably ought to try to explain that better in the next video. But anyway, I out of habit go to the frequency of the station I'm talking to, and I just try to remember to go away from it when I'm done. Logging these, oh, I didn't mention this. logging these contacts. The log button is here. You can also get to it by going up here to the log tab, and here are your options. One of them is open log directory or add log entry, and do it that way. At this point, there's no way to that I'm aware of to edit a log entry. Perhaps that'll be done in the future. So let's see here. Here is my buddy in Florida answering me, and he is using WB2TQE as a relay. This is another function that I didn't get into, but you can relay via another station. Okay, that's it for this time. I just kind of touched the surface. There are a ton of other features built into this program. And of course, now I've really confused you by getting off it, so just close your eyes. Anyway, that's it. I'll have another video as soon as I learn more or another version comes out. 73 from WD4KAV.